Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Welcome back, guys. Today, oh my gosh, you guys, I have two amazing women on board with me today. Today, I am joined by Carmen North and Robyn Davidson. They are the owners of Remote Rehab Solutions. Carmen is an occupational therapist and has been an occupational therapist for 12 years. And I had the honor of meeting her when I was a guest on her podcast, the Oh Hi podcast. So if you guys want to listen to a really funny one, go check out that podcast. And we were actually introduced via my functionally fit instructor, Stacey Bootsman. So Carmen is amazing. Robyn is a physiotherapist. She's been a physiotherapist for 10 years. And her and Carmen met through mutual friends and started the Remote Rehab Solutions business. So welcome, ladies. How are you today?
Doing so awesome. Thank you so much for having us, Nikki.
Very excited to have you guys. Very excited to have you guys. So not female first responders, but
No.
you ladies are going to teach us today how to take care of our bodies so that we can maintain longevity of our careers. So this one is super important to me because I know myself with 17 years in corrections, the different things that we do with our bodies, be it involved in a physical altercation, be it sitting all day when we're not busy or when you're doing paperwork, wearing our protective vests, wearing duty belts that kind of offset our spines and things like that. A lot of times we are seeing big time repetitive strain injuries in our careers. And so I'm so excited to kind of delve into this stuff today so we can teach our listeners how to be healthy, how to maintain our bodies, and how to basically maintain our wellness moving throughout our careers. So I'm going to start with you, Carmen. So tell me about kind of your journey into becoming an occupational therapist. What does that actually entail? Because I feel like I kind of have an idea, but I don't really know. And then we'll kind of delve into how you can help us out.
Good. Well, I discovered occupational therapy pretty late, I'd say, into my schooling journey. I know Robyn has a very different story, but yeah, all throughout like high school and year of university, I really thought I was going to go into like medicine or physical therapy. And then I was like, oh, I really want to be a dolphin trainer one day. Maybe I'll go into zoology. So all these different things, but I never knew what occupational therapy was or what an occupational therapist did. It was really when I think I was in my probably second or third year of university. I had transferred from sciences into kinesiology, which was the greatest switch ever because kinesiology, it's all about learning about human movement. And I related to that so much more. Organic chemistry in my first year was just like, I did not understand it. I'm like, I don't understand why I need this. I can't, my brain cannot compute what is being taught in this class. So yeah, it was the greatest switch that I made was going into kinesiology. And then it was like, yeah, second, third year where I'm like, okay, what is it that I actually want to do after kin? And kept thinking that I would do physical therapy. And then when I started thinking about, okay, I should probably have some different plans because that's how I work is I have one goal, but I need to make sure if it doesn't work out, then I have other things set up. And yeah, started looking into other programs within the rehab faculty. I also thought about being a teacher. And actually, one of my other backup plans was to go into paramedic, to be a paramedic at NAIT. So I say that was my plan C, but my plan A ended up working out where I discovered occupational therapy. And really, it was through a family friend. So one of my mom's friends, her daughters was an occupational therapist. And I was like, what is that? And yeah, she invited me to shadow at the Glenrose Hospital. and I shadowed a couple of OTs there, I think over the span of a day, and was just really just really interested and amazed at how wide of a field OT is. And so just yeah, just became more interested after that, researched it a bit more, applied, got accepted, and then the rest is history, I guess.
I do love that. The rest is history. Here I am, 12 years later. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, no, I know. And then like time just like flies by and you're like, what? So
Yeah.
was it like an additional degree or was it like within
Yeah.
your 4 degree?
No, so you have to have an undergraduate degree first. I think when I was in school at that time, so 2005, I graduated high school 2005. I think it was maybe 2006 or 2007. That was the last time OT was undergraduate degree. After that, it became a master's program. So you had to have a undergrad degree, which I got in kinesiology before you were able to get into the master's program.
Okay, gotcha. And is a practicum like a component of the master's or is it just straight coursework?
So it's a combination. I think we had 5 practicums in total.
Cool.
One that was a month long, and then the rest were, I think, 6 or 7 weeks long.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
cool. Very cool.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
always love when a program has a practical aspect to it because I feel like
Oh, yeah.
there's so many times we can be in the coursework and think either, God, this sucks and I hate it, and this is the worst, and God, why did I pick this? Or, and then you do the practicum and you're like, oh, this is why I did this because I love this part. Or you're in you love the coursework and you're like, this is so interesting. And then you get out in the
Mhm.
field and you're like, this is not like I was learning
Yeah,
in school, and I don't know if I want to do this anymore, right? So it's like that
yeah,
opportunity to really figure out like, is this actually the direction I want to go with my career? So that's awesome.
absolutely.
So can you break down for me just quickly, like what exactly is an occupational therapist?
Great question. Sometimes I still ask myself that. Because really, the field is just so broad that we can do so much that yeah, it's sometimes hard to describe what it is that we can do. But basically at the foundation of it, an occupational therapist helps you to get back or return back to doing the occupations in your life that are meaningful to you. And for us, how we define occupation is not just your vocation or your job that you get paid for, it's any meaningful activity. So even for someone like yourself, Nikki, for podcasting or playing rugby, spending time with your kids, running your business, all those aspects, whether it's physically, cognitively, emotionally, being well enough to be able to functionally do those activities, that is what we want to be able to help people get back to doing if they experience, some sort of injury or illness or a disability, to be able to help them get back to doing those activities that are meaningful to them.
I love how you explain that because that is exactly like in my mind, I think occupational, and I'm like, okay, it's job related. I've been sitting wrong in my desk for forever, however, and so now I've got a back injury. So therefore, you're going to teach me how to sit properly and we're going to get proper ergonomics. And then, ta-da, I'm magically
Right.
going to be better,
Right.
which
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming is also part of it. But I love that you guys have said, like, it's not just your job, it's whatever is
Mhm.
meaningful to you, because I think that
Yeah.
that really encompasses the wholeness of a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
We aren't just our jobs, we aren't just what we do Monday to Friday or
Totally.
whatever week our week looks like, our shifts look like, right? So I
Yeah.
really love that it's gone to a wellness kind of like a more
Yeah.
holistic approach. I think that's amazing. Okay, and Robyn, I want to jump over to you now because you, as a physiotherapist, which I do know a lot more about because, as Carmen alluded to, I'm a rugby player. So I've seen you guys multiple times to fix my broken body. But as a physiotherapist, now connected with Carmen in this, occupational side of things, how did you get into this? And when tell me your story about kind of journeying through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up really rural on a farm, kind of northeastern Alberta. And when I was going through high school, It was about grade 11. I'm just that kind of personality where I started to freak out a little bit about what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So I'm like, well, I know I want to get into something where I'm working with people, I'm helping them, healthcare field. And so there was actually a job, like one of those job fairs that was kind of local to us, and we went, and that's when I was really like, okay, I should actually experience some of these careers and like get a feel for what it's actually like. And at that job fair, I had met a physiotherapist, and I did not know what physiotherapy was. Like growing up in rural Alberta, pretty much like Cairo was kind of the main way people would go if they had an injury or back pain or whatever. And we didn't have any physios anywhere near us, like over an hour away she had come from to come to this job fair. And so I set up a bunch of basically job shadow days. I job shadowed a dietitian, family physician, physiotherapist. I can't remember what else at the time, but I just fell in love with physio. I just couldn't believe that she got to like just get to know people and their stories all day, help them get better. And she was running her own business, which was a big goal of mine, was to be able to be a business owner. And I'm like, this is perfect. So every decision from then on, when it came to school, I was like, just geared towards me getting into my master's degree for physical therapy. And I didn't have a plan B or C or anything else. I just like, this is happening and that's it. And if I don't get in, then I'll figure out a plan B. But yeah, I specifically took actually the same degree as Carmen from the U of A in kinesiology, because I felt like that would set me up best for a career in physical therapy, getting my foundations in, human movement and exercise physiology and that kind of thing, which was amazing. And then got in, thankfully, to the master's program. Actually, at the U of A, the Faculty of Rehab Medicine, it's all in one building. It's really kind of a cool building on the U of A campus if you've ever been there. So the master's degree for occupational therapy, master's degree for physiotherapy, and speech and language pathology were all kind of in the same faculty, same building. I went to school a couple of years after Carmen, so we didn't overlap then. We met later, but yeah, that's how I decided to get into it. And honestly, I've had lots of people ask me, like, whether or not they're considering physio, about how do I make this decision moving forward? I'm like, you have to job shadow. You have to. Like, there's just, like you said before, there's no way to compare what you read in a book or read online to actually experiencing like a day in the life, And I've helped high school students set up practicums with paramedics or job shadows, like different things. Cause I'm like, you have to see what it's really like. And I mean, even for physio, one of the reasons I chose it as well is because it's so diverse. Like, there's a physiotherapist that works on every ward of the hospital, which can look very different based on, which kind of part of the hospital you're covering. You can do cardio resp stuff. You can work with amputees. You can work in the military. You can work, private practice. You can work like with peds. And I've done a lot of stuff with kids as well, and like neuromuscular conditions and things. So I just find that really interesting because I think I do get bored a little bit easily. So I'm like, let's challenge myself. Let's learn new things and take another course or learn something new. So that is kind of in a nutshell how I got into the profession.
I really like that because I'm like a good kind of mix of both of you. I'm the person that's like very much like, this is what we're doing. We're doing this. Here's the plan. I'm going to put everything in place to go, like, we're going full bore at this. And again, when Carmen and I did our episode, like, I actually have a tattoo that says, I will either find a way or make one. Like, that is that is mine. But I'm also the person that's like, but also, what do we have for plan B just in case? Yeah. what maybe else might I like to do?
Yeah. It's smart. It's very, very smart to have a backup plan for sure.
And I will agree with both of you. I find the human body absolutely fascinating. Like, I know my kind of like love of like anatomy, physiology, like how we work, like how the body moves, kinesiology. I always wanted to take it in university, but I was way over in the arts side doing my psychology and sociology and stuff, but all the mind stuff, right? Like the body and how does the brain work, I found fascinating. And then I really got into like the physical part of body when I started teaching fitness classes classes, 2005, as part of your like generic program. It's like you're doing this crash course on anatomy and physiology, right? And I just was like, so this is attached to this. And when you do this stuff, like as I'm using my hands, nobody can see it, but when you turn your wrist, right, like these muscles roll over these bones and this is connected. Like I just was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then having now like been teaching for as long as I've been teaching and cueing physical cues, like, engage this, roll this back, and like knowing that you can physically manipulate your body into a better position just by activating or releasing certain muscles, like just absolutely fascinating. I love it. Whenever that like exhibit comes to the Tell Us World of Science, where it's all like the dead people with the muscles, I'm like, I can spend the whole freaking day here, people.
So cool. Yeah.
Actually, funny story. My husband and I's first date was at Body World. We went to Body World.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, he can handle this. He's a keeper.
Yeah, there you go, right? That's fantastic. Well, and so now you guys have launched this new-ish. I think you guys, I'm not sure, Carmen, you'll have to let me know, but Remote Rehab Solutions. You guys are now working together, putting your amazing minds and skill sets together. And so tell me a little bit about this work that you guys are doing.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, wanted to pop on here before we got into this next episode and let you know about a couple new rad ideas that we have for the podcast. So the first one is we have a survey up, and I would love to know what you guys think about the show. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your ideas for the next season, and I'd just love to know what you like and what you dislike about the podcast. And I'm going to sweeten the deal with a $50 gift card randomly drawn from everybody that completes the survey. The survey is going to be in the show notes of all of our shows, so no matter what time you start listening to the podcast at, you'll get a chance to win that gift certificate. The second thing that we're bringing in now is the ability for you guys to leave us a voicemail. You guys can actually call into the show, leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think about the show. If you have a funny story you'd like to share from your time as a first responder, I would love those and showcase those on the show as well. So make sure you guys check out that voicemail feature. It's going to be in the show notes, and check out the survey. Make sure that you get that chance to win that gift certificate.
Yeah. Robyn, do you want to go or?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So we started Remote Rehab Solutions January-ish. Robyn and I both had our third babies last like summer, fall. And I think we got together one day and we were just talking about our careers and where we wanted to go, and just feeling a bit of dissatisfaction, but also wanting to create something more for ourselves, just our lifestyle, our family. And so we were doing somewhat similar work, but obviously in different fields. And at that time, Robyn was in Ontario. She just moved back to Alberta in the summer. And yeah, so from that conversation, like starting in January, everything got rolling into creating Remote Rehab Solutions. And the idea behind it is that we want to be able to bring our professional services, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and mental health resources to the client or to the patient. And so we want to offer these services in someone's home or done virtually, so that anybody, wherever they live in Alberta, can access good quality rehab services, depending on what their issue or injury is or what their challenge is. So that's the idea behind it. That's why we wanted to create something like this. And Robyn, being from a small town, she just has it really big on her heart to be able to serve these areas, because a lot of the time there's not enough providers out there in these rural areas. And so we just want to be able to fill that gap.
I freaking love that. And so all of my rural listeners out there, all of my peace officers who are listening to this right now in your squad cars, you know who you are, Justin and Brenda. And I can't remember, there's like 4 or 5 of them, other ones that I know for sure listen in their squad cars, Andrew. So my friends out there, you guys, this one's for you. Okay, so we're talking about it and we can help. Well, they can help. I mean, I'm useless. I'm just the podcast lady, but I provide entertainment. That's what I do.
Yeah.
These two are really going to actually help you. But yeah, so they can access you guys from anywhere in Alberta, which I think is totally a key thing. And like you're saying, Robyn, that lack of service for people in those kind of remote communities, I always think to myself, because like I've been going to the chiropractor for years, like 25 years at least, right? And I think to myself, if I didn't have access to a chiropractor, like how broken I really would be, like, and just because it wouldn't be something that was close to me, or like not everybody has an hour a week to drive, 2 hours really to drive for a 15-minute adjustment to drive, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the fact that you guys are bringing this to rural communities, I think is phenomenal. So I want to kind of switch gears now, and I want to really jump into, because you're talking, and Carmen, you brought it up. So physical wellness, emotional wellness, mental health services, or mental health resources. So what are you guys able to offer our first responders? What are some of the things maybe that you've seen in your practices that are coming up from first responders who may have been patients, or may have just kind of, again, friends that have reached out. So like, God, this part of my body is really hurting because I'm not holding myself properly, or I'm wearing shitty duty boots. We did an episode on uniforms, right? And like they buy us the crappiest boots you could ever buy, right? And so like now you've got knee issues, you got ankle issues, things like that. So what can you guys tell us to kind of help us keep that well body and well mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Something that surprised me when I first started working with a lot more first responders was, I guess I just had this image in my mind of like super fit, healthy, active individuals, which a lot of first responders are. But a lot of the issues I kept seeing was from so much sitting. And like, it's tough because anything we do super repetitively, like our body patterns that, right? So our body adapts, fairly quickly to things that we do repetitively. If we stretch a lot, we get more flexible. If we lift weights, we get stronger. If we sit a lot, we get tight in typically very predictable patterns. But that can lead, obviously, to pain and issues and things like that, especially when, like, everybody in the human population, we just don't stretch enough at all, right? So it's like this kind of combination that I found really interesting is that lots of still workouts, typically very active, and then a lot of sitting, and then missing that stretching piece. So I've done a lot of, I do dry needling in my practice in physical therapy. So it can be quite an uncomfortable technique. I will say I don't love getting it done to me, but I will allow it when I need it because it's so effective. But yeah, a lot of like just trying to get things a little bit more mobile. Like you already mentioned, Nikki, like having just the extra layers, the belt, for police officers, and just the extra weight and a lot of sitting, and not really having the flexibility. Like, we treat a lot of people who work from home. Well, if you work from home and you sit all day, you can take a break every half an hour and do a stretch or do this or that, or, get up and go to get some water, whatever. Like, you don't really have as much flexibility when you're on shift if you are, having to stay in your patrol car, or you're having to whatever that is that you have to do. So I do tell a lot of clients, generally first responders or not, the more you can fit in throughout your typical day, the better off you're going to be. It's so hard to combat, like, say you have a 12-hour shift and you're sitting for 8 or more. It's so hard to combat that with even like 30 minutes of exercise. It doesn't equal out, right? And so the more you can build little things into your routine, into your day, it just makes a huge difference. If you think like a 30-second stretch here and there doesn't make a difference, it really, really does. And I find for parents, for like anybody and everybody, we have busy schedules. Even for myself, when I'm in physio for an injury, like I don't set aside an extra 30 minutes out of my day every day to stretch, but I can fit it in. And I talk a lot with clients about like habit stacking. So it's like, find something that you do every single day, multiple times a day, whether it's eating, going to the bathroom, I don't know, whatever it is. And pair a stretch with it, or pair, one of your exercises that your physiotherapist has given to you, something to get you out of your typical positioning, right? Even if it's like, okay, I'm going to walk in to Tim Hortons to get my coffee today instead of going through the drive-thru. Changing your position, if you have that flexibility. And one other thing I'll mention, and I'll pass it over to Carmen, is because it's typically quite repetitive for things, the more you can schedule like maintenance for your body, the better. Even if it's like, massage every once a month, or kind of some tune-up physio, it just helps to be able to stretch better, move better, exercise better. And I find that makes a big difference. I do it myself because, again, I'm not as consistent at, stretching and things like that as I need to be. But the more you move your body, the more you use it, the more you sit, the more you should stretch. And so in order to keep up to that, it's nice to have just some maintenance. Like if you don't take your vehicle for oil changes, it's going to break down at some point. It's going to, you're going to get injured is how I kind of explain it. So those are some, I don't know, kind of quick tips for your physical health.
Yeah. Interesting how you say like an 8-hour shift cannot be undone with a 30-minute exercise session, because that is what we do, right? We have our lunch break. And so, at least at the jail, speaking from the jail, right? You have your lunch break. Majority of us, well, also, I had to laugh when you were like, yeah, I thought they were all fit. And I was like, yes, no, they're not. But yeah, a lot of us would go on our lunch break and we would bang out a workout, because it was usually the only time we could get it in, right? Is you're working long shifts, you're up at the crack of dawn, and then you're getting home. And then if you're a parent, like we're all moms of 3, so we know it's balls to the wall until you can go to bed, and then you're up and you're doing it again. So you work out hard for 30 minutes or whatever you can fit in, 20 minutes, 25 minutes before you got to go back to your station. There's no time for stretching. There's no time for stretching in that workout. There's time to bang it out and then quickly shower, throw your uniform back on. And then what do? You go back to your staff station and you sit. And you sit for the next however long until something pops off or you have to do a round or things like that. My squad car friends, it's for them also, it's that it's never always the same car. So the positioning is always different. The seat, it doesn't sit exactly the same as it always does in each squad car. The computer may be slightly different. So the angle and the turn of the back is going to be different. Or if you're sharing a staff station, it's not ergonomically set up for you. It's just a generic one. And you can make the seat, if somebody hasn't broken it, you can make it go up and down and maybe like a little back and forth, but like that's all you're getting, right? So yes, that 30 minutes is not going to undo your 8 hours of sitting in poor positioning or just sitting and not moving your body. So I really like that you said that. Yeah. Carmen, what do you got for us?
I was just going to say, Robyn, when you were talking, I'm like tempted to stand up and stretch.
Yes, do it.
Right? I wish I was at my standing desk. I'm not though, but yeah, from an OT perspective, what we look at, I mean, so many things, because we could help with returning back to work if someone was off work for various reasons. But I think just in line with staying healthy, doing this job well, I think it's about how do you stay healthy mentally and emotionally, cognitively, so that you can continue to do your job well, but also do your life well. We're looking at the whole person, right? So it's not just their job as a first responder that we want to focus on. It's how do you do your entire life well. So I think the biggest thing is decompression strategies. What do you do after your shift? And it may be an 8-hour shift or sometimes a 12-hour shift. What do you do afterwards? What is your routine like so that you can decompress from everything that you've seen, talked about, heard about, all the different noises that you hear on a shift that could be really stimulating? Staring at a screen or on your phone, possibly majority of your shift. What kind of strategies do you have in place so that you can relax and then be able to transition back into your quote unquote regular life so that you can be fully present and just you for your loved ones and just everyone else that you're going to be interacting with. So yeah, that could be, a 5-minute routine or a 10-minute routine. It doesn't have to be super long or drawn out or anything crazy, but just a 5-minute routine, whether it's in your car or in a quiet room or when you pull into your driveway at home. 5-minute routine of a meditation. I love meditating. I think it's so useful, so helpful, especially with decompressing. And it's one of those things like stretching, easy to do, but also easy to not do. And so, yeah, just even a quick, 2-3 minute meditation can be really, really helpful to just calm the nervous system down before you transition into your regular life. And something else, I attended this expert panel talking about a concept called potentially moral injuries that first responders have to come across. And when I heard of that term, I hadn't heard of it before, but it makes a lot of sense. And I can relate it to being a healthcare worker, especially in the public health system, to compassion fatigue. So these potentially moral injuries where first responders, they are faced with really, really hard and difficult situations that a lot of the time they don't see a resolution to. And all of these different events that go against their own morals and values that are constantly, coming at them, and it's not being resolved. It's hitting them every single day or every single shift. It can definitely wear someone down where they start to, like their mental health just starts to decline because of it. Maybe they're not as passionate or as excited about, stepping out into their job or into their shift every day. And so, thinking about strategies on how do you maintain your mental health or better your mental health when you are going through situations like that. So even like talking about it, either like with your squad or teammates or someone that you trust, like a loved one or friends, talking about things that are happening or how you're feeling can be really, really helpful. And I know that talking about your mental health it's getting better, in terms of being more accepted, but it's just not as widely maybe talked about or as accepted potentially in the first responder world. Yeah, talking about your emotions and feelings. I think it's getting better, but maybe not quite where it needs to be just yet. But it's amazing how just releasing the thoughts that you're having, just having that release can be so helpful in just decompressing, but also your overall mental health. And yeah, again, having those practices to be able to transition back into your regular life can be helpful when you are dealing with some really unfortunate issues that you're seeing at work and potentially experiencing those moral injuries. I could keep going, about like sleep and diet and all of that too. I mean, you talk to a dietitian, but
no, I do want to I want to jump onto some of those. I was just going to say, like, the yogi in me just lit up when you said like meditation, because I was like, yes. But I think the thing that really resonated was like when you said the sounds at your shift, because we always talk about what we see. We always talk about that. We talk about like, oh, you saw the blood, you saw the gore, you saw you saw somebody get their head kicked in, like you saw it. Nobody ever really talks about the sounds that you hear. And like the amount of times I talk to first responders and friends and we just get home and we don't want anybody to fucking talk to us. We want it to be dead silent. We don't want any noise. We will literally go and lock ourselves in the bathroom or in a closet, and we just want it to be silent, because you don't realize, and again, I'll take myself back to the jail. You've got 3-tiered, 36-celled, huge, wide open space. This is at least at Edmonton Remand, 72 inmates out. You've got the TV going, you've got guys on visitation, on video visitation, you've got the workout area where they're playing handball and games and lifting weights and, you know, doing things like that. You've got a bunch of them playing cards in the common area. And it is just like for 8 hours, it's just noise all of the time. And so when you leave, it's like you need that decompression. You absolutely need that decompression of just like, I just need it to be freaking silent. But the chances of us to actually have that, because usually you leave and you go pick up your kids from school and they want to talk to them, blah, 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 and you're like, everybody shut the fuck up. I can't handle it, right? So I love that you're saying like, even just, and I think like you said, just the 5 minutes, fuck, give me 2 minutes. Sit in your car as soon as you get off a shift, sit in your car for 2 minutes in silence, close your eyes, focus on your breath for 2 minutes. You will see a huge freaking improvement on your capacity to then deal with things when you leave work. You will not, the cup will not be overflowing again. Hopefully some of it will have poured out and you will have that space. And to speak to what you're saying about the moral injuries, again, like that's something, you know, it's very prevalent in first responders. And I find that it's becoming a lot more acceptable to speak about single traumatic events, right? So like, oh, that was a really bad call, or oh, that was a really bad code, or oh, that was really like gruesome, like the suicide or whatever it is. If it's a single event, it's like, oh yes, let's talk about it. Let's have a debrief at the end of shift. Let's talk, let's have a, you know, you and your partner, let's hash that out. How did that go? What, are you okay? You okay? That's becoming a lot more acceptable. I think where we're seeing it not becoming acceptable is the continuous moral injuries, the little tiny ones that happen every day. So like just seeing the same inmate come back in and again and again and again and again, or them just not doing what you said again and again and again. And like how that builds, and like how do you go home and say to your spouse like, oh, you know, inmate so and so didn't listen to me again today. They're gonna be like, okay, well, our kids don't listen either, so right, like, right. So like it, that talking about that, I feel like is a lot less, I wouldn't say acceptable, but it's just not done because we just chalk it up to like, oh, that's just part of the job. Oh, that's just part of the job. But when it compounds itself like that, it really does lead to those big injuries where now you're just like, and it takes some not listening one more time for you to snap. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're under investigation, or now there's a big like, well, where did that come from? How come you just like lost your mind like that? And it's like, because it's been happening every day for 3 weeks. And like, I've said it every single day for 3 weeks and I don't understand why nobody else is seeing this. Right. So yeah, I do like that. Delve into sleep for me, because I definitely think that this is something that we need to talk about in the first responder world. And again, Robyn, I'm sure you probably have some things to physically for sleep, like get a better pillow, don't sleep on your break like this against the wall.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sleep is so important. And I would imagine that doing shift work, getting good sleep and good rest is just more challenging because of the scheduling, the fact that there's daylight out when you're trying to get your night sleep. So again, just having some simple practices in place can be really helpful. So the first one being a relaxation practice. What is your routine like? Because you're telling your body that it's time to sleep. And so having some sort of relaxation practice. So yeah, getting yourself washed up, maybe reading a book or doing a meditation before bed, doing some stretching before bed. Those are all good relaxation techniques that can be done before, so that your body is getting prepared for sleep. Making sure that your room is as dark as possible. So like blackout curtains or blackout blinds, cover up any flashing lights on air purifiers or humidifiers, you know, whatever. Try to make sure your room is as dark as possible, especially when you're doing shift work, so that that bright light, especially now as the days are getting longer, it's getting brighter out earlier and it's bright late. Make sure that that room that you're in is dark. Make sure your bed, your room, save it for sleep. And, you know, maybe other things if you're in a, you know, in a relationship, but you know, save it for sleep. I know sometimes it can be tempting just to like hang out in there, maybe watch a movie, whatever the case might be, but your brain, your body, it really knows what environment is meant for sleep. And so if it's getting confused with you doing other things in your bedroom, then when you do go to bed, it might be like, oh, it's not time to sleep yet. So yeah, try to prioritize or reserve your bedroom for actual sleeping. Limit screen time before bed. I know it's easier said than done. Ideally, it's an hour, but maybe getting off, like right off of shift, and then you're going home and trying to get into bed, that may not be quite an hour's time. I'm not sure, depending on the individual, but just as much as possible, or at least turning on that night light or yellow light setting on your phone or on your screen. That can be helpful in just blocking out some of that blue light that is more stimulating. So yeah, trying to do that for as long as possible before you're actually going into bed. And watching your caffeine intake, again, coming off a long shift, that might be difficult, but trying to have caffeine like earlier in your shift, and being active, not close to when you are trying to sleep. So if it is in the middle of your shift, then that might be a really good spot or a good time to be active. Because yeah, when you exercise too close to when you're trying to sleep, the hormones are going to want to keep you awake. Yeah, those are some of the ones that I have right now. But I would say the biggest thing is, yeah, trying to keep your space, your bedroom space, for sleeping, and then just have a good routine to be able to set your body up well so that it knows that it's time to sleep.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. I will say, so this is just my own personal observation. So when I was working shift work and when I was on the working at the gym, I used to not be able to wear earplugs, even though my husband snores like goddamn so loud. I wanted to just punch him all the time. It scared me. It gave me a sense of anxiety to have earplugs in, because I didn't like not being able to hear what was going on, which is absolutely counterintuitive to going to sleep and being able to have a deep sleep. But I did not like the fact that if somebody was to break into my house, that I would be caught unawares, that I would not hear them until they were right over top of my bed, or until they had done something to my kids, or they had, right? And like, these are the scenarios that run through first responders' heads, right? We are not normal brain activity people. This is, and again, I say this like, and like a lot of my non-first responder friends are like, Melly, you're just crazy. And I'm like, no, like all of us feel like, all of us think this, like we all believe this, that to not be able to hear is very scary. It's very like, it's a very powerless feeling. And it is only in the last, and I've been out of shift work and I've been out of the jail for 4.5 years now. And it is only in the last 3 months, I think, that I can put earplugs in and sleep comfortably. Because before I would be like day shift or night shift. I would work night shift. I would come home. It would be like set bright out. It's summertime. People are mowing their lawns. The kids are out playing. And I'm like, everybody shut up. I'm trying to sleep. So I would put earplugs in. But inevitably, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep with both of them in. So I would be able to take one out, and then I would kind of drift off, because I could feel that I could still hear. But I know I wasn't getting restful sleep when this was happening. And so only now can I sleep comfortably with both earplugs in and not wake up scared of like, oh my God, did something happen and I didn't hear about it? Like, is everything okay? Like I wake up and I'm like, oh, that is what it feels like to sleep like a normal person. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Robyn, what about you? Anything physically that we can do for sleep to make it better?
Yeah, I think the pillow thing that you already mentioned, like, I mean, the purpose of your pillow is to support your neck. So when you think about it that way, there are pillows that have been optimized for side sleepers versus back sleepers. To be honest, for me, it's just like what actually feels the most comfortable when you are sleeping. Typically, you want to have quite a flat pillow or no pillow if you sleep on your back, just to support the curvature of your spine properly. And then more of a pillow or more support when you are on your side. I know a lot of people will do they'll just double up pillows and things like that. It's like, not optimal for sure. Something that I started doing in my first pregnancy, like 6+ years ago, was sleeping with a pillow between my knees. And that pillow is there every single night because it just improves the positioning of your back and hips if you're a side sleeper. So that's probably something that I will never get rid of. Just like basically setting yourself up as well as you can. I talk about sleep a lot with clients, but sleep is challenging because it's so habitual that, sometimes when you try to change something, it's like, oh, I can't fall asleep. And then you get a poor night's sleep and then the whole day is thrown off the next day. But trying to potentially like make small adjustments towards just optimizing your posture. But I do have clients who are like, I am a stomach sleeper and I will always be a stomach sleeper. And it's just how it is, even though it's not the best position for, your neck and your back and things like that. And yeah, like I think about my mattress and my pillows as they're there to support my body and my spine. And so just like proper ergonomics when you're sitting at work or at the desk or whatever, that's going to help support you. If you're sleeping for the amount that you're supposed to be sleeping, or at least in bed for 8 to 10 hours, that's a long time. So trying to optimize it as much as possible. I find even propping with pillows like in front of you for your arm and shoulder, especially if you have any neck tension, shoulder injuries, repetitive strains, things like that. Propping them into a position where they're more supported is going to help take the stress off of them while you sleep. So it can depend, on the specific person, the injury they're dealing with, those types of things where we'll problem solve what to try, what might be the best position. But yeah, and I always recommend everybody should lay flat on their back for a couple minutes before you get into your sleep position, because we're always flexed. We're always sitting, working in front of us, bending. We're always working in front. And very rarely, especially if you're a side sleeper and you curl up into a ball, very rarely do we just stretch out and just like decompress the spine. So even just flat on your back, legs flat for like a minute or two can really help just your body just to even get ready for sleep, decompress. Yeah.
That's good.
Yes, I absolutely love that. As I'm like nodding 100%, like, yes, I don't do that. I don't do that. I need to do that. Yes, I sleep on my side. I need to do the pillow between my knees. I need to prop my shoulder up because my body is broken. Like all of these things, I'm like, I will say to the lying flat, because like after during COVID, everything shut down. I was teaching yoga a ton before COVID, and then everything shut down. And so it was a good like probably year that I was teaching, but I was just teaching online and I wasn't teaching nearly as much. And when I went back to teaching like regular, my body was like, we haven't laid flat in Shavasana in like a year. Like we really haven't. And I could feel how my body had changed and wasn't used to laying flat again. And so I get this from people that are new to yoga. It hurts me to lie flat. It hurts I don't like that part of yoga because it hurts me. And I'm like, it hurts you because you need to do it. That is why it hurts you. You need to do it. And then the more you do it, the less it's going to hurt. I promise you this. Like, I guarantee you, work with me through it. Give me a month and I will give you a better spine. I promise you. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Or start on something soft, right? Start on your bed. Usually it's more comfortable. Start maybe with a little pillow and then, work your way down. But yes, for sure.
I love that. I love that. Well, we have covered a ton of stuff and there is like about 58 more things that we could talk about. I may try and fit one in on my quick rapid fire questions just because I really want to talk about it. But you guys have been amazing. Like, again, just great strategies, like little things. And again, I think that's really what we have to focus on, especially just in this day and age where everybody's so busy. We're all trying to fit in, like stretch more, drink more water, sleep better, right? But like, it's like, just get in your car and sit silently for 2 minutes. Boom. There you go. If you just do that, things will get better. Before you go to bed, lie down flat. If you just do that, things will get better. Those are 2 quick and easy things that you can do today so that your body feels better and so that you will have longevity and you will have health as you move through your career. So yeah, definitely tons of really, really great strategies and tips and things. Ladies, thank you. So I always usually wrap up with rapid fire questions with my guests because I just think they're really fun and I love them and I love hearing people's answers. Usually they're related to shift work, but I'm going to kind of twist them a little bit for you guys. So the first one I usually ask is, what is your favorite food or snack while on shift? And I'm going to twist it for you guys and say, what is a food or snack that you would recommend that we eat for our shifts? Because the answers that we've been getting are probably not what we should be eating.
Interesting.
My answer is nuts.
I was
Almond,
gonna
any
say
kind of nuts for sure. I mean, they're just the power. They're the powerhouse. They've got everything. Or at least add nuts to whatever else you're eating. I don't care if you have a donut with it, but just have the nuts too.
I was gonna say nuts too.
Yeah, it's because it's the right answer.
Then I will say seeds. Add some seeds to everything. You got your fiber, your fat, your protein, keeps you going. That's what I would say.
And it's perfect because that matches. Usually the answer is something that you can eat with one hand while you're also doing something else. That's the
Exactly.
kind of the theme of first responders is, can I eat it
Yeah.
while I'm driving to a call? Can I eat it while I'm writing a report? Can I eat it while I'm, juggling something else? So seeds and nuts it is. Okay, perfect. Second question is, and you guys have touched on a lot of these, so I'm going to tailor this one. I usually ask is, what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody getting into the career? But I'm going to tailor it for you guys. What is a piece of advice you would give to somebody getting into this career to maintain proper posture? And that's with sometimes our ballistic vest on, sometimes our stab proof vest on, sometimes a 35-pound duty belt that includes a firearm. Sometimes it's a duty belt that's a little bit lighter, but still has a whole bunch of pockets and things. So sitting back properly isn't going to work. So what would be a piece of advice around that?
I can jump in.
Waiting.
Rapid fire, and we're both like silent.
It's all good. It's a big one. It's because I would say there's probably a lot of different things you can do. Take your belt off, take your vest off, sit upright, stretch. I think there's a couple of different ones that we could go. But is there like one, or like is there something that we can, like, again, a quick like remind as you stand up to do this or don't do this as you quickly stand up or sit down?
My biggest tip around posture for everyone is always that it's just about how often you remember to correct it, to be honest. It's about what cues you put in place to remind yourself to correct it or change it or optimize it. And so for my office workers, people at desks, I say put a sticky note, put an alarm on your phone, do these things where there's going to be an external reminder, because as we all know, when you're in work mode, you are not thinking about posture or whatever else. You're thinking about what you need to do. 6 hours can go by and you're like, my back hurts. So as much as you can, if you're able to set an external reminder, maybe there's a sticky note somewhere in your squad car or whatever. Or I will tell people, every time you go to the bathroom and you look at yourself in the mirror when you're washing your hands, correct your posture and then just hold that corrected posture until you forget, right? And at least there's that, a few times a day, you're cueing yourself with an external reminder to just improve or optimize your posture. And everything we've already talked about is going to help, especially that lying flat on your back, even if it's for a couple of minutes a day, can make a big difference. But yeah, fitting in stretches here and there. But I would say if you can figure out your external cue that your brain, it just becomes automatic, that it thinks posture every time it sees it, then you're golden.
And I would just say to kind of combine posture, but also with just mental well-being, is to think about having those cues. So whether it's in your squad car and you're at a red light, maybe for that duration of the red light, think about having, a strong back, fix your posture, but then taking some deep belly breaths so that you can relax your front, relax your core, have a strong back, but relax your core, and 3 deep belly breaths. Because so often we're not breathing. Our breathing is so shallow, especially for first responders. If you're needing to be on top of things, you got so many things coming at you. We're constantly just breathing really, really shallow, only into our lungs. So it's not quite posture, but it's going to help overall your mental posture, I guess you could say.
And your physical posture too, for sure.
Yeah.
I know, and I love it. I love that because I totally agree. A lot of times, and we have that physical constriction as well because you're wearing that heavy vest. And so we don't take deep breaths. We breathe, right? We breathe very shallowly. You're cinched into your vest a lot of times, right? And so taking that big breath, we don't do it. We don't do it for the whole shift. So absolutely freaking love that. Like that is amazing. And I just had to laugh, Robyn, because I worked in an office for a little while and yeah, my back was screwed. And so I would set the little calendar reminder to tell me to get up and stretch. And inevitably it would go off and I'd be like, fuck off. I don't have time to stretch. Dismiss. I would get mad. Yeah. I would get mad at the reminder that I set for myself to physically take care of my body. And I'd be like, ain't got time for that today. Dismiss. Nope, ain't got time for that. It's now been 3 hours. I've dismissed it 3 times and I have not stood up yet.
Yep, that'll happen.
As soon as you said that, I was like, either that or like literally I would get mad at my phone, like, shut up. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I cannot stand up and stretch right now. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that I'm also being unhealthy. Great. Well, ladies, this has been an absolute slice, you guys. I'm telling you, great tips, great strategies. To the listeners out there, guys, just try one of them. Just try one of them and then come back and listen to the episode again and add another one. And then come back and listen to the episode again and add a third one. And we will keep ourselves healthy and we will be able to, as Carmen says, do the things that we love to do when we leave those vocations. We will be able to take care of our bodies when we retire, when we leave the career. We will not be old and broken. We will have that resilient body, mind, and, emotional kind of well-being. So thank you, ladies, so much. Any last words for our listeners before we sign off?
I would just say thank you for everything that you do in keeping all of us safe. But yeah, don't try to change everything all at once. Like Nikki said, just one thing, just try it and see how it goes.
Anything from you, Robyn?
I just, same thing as Carmen. Thank you for everything that you guys do. And yeah, thank you, Nikki, for having us on. We really appreciate getting to chat with you today. And hopefully the tips help at least one person.
Yeah.
They totally will. They totally will. All right, ladies, it's been a slice. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.